She wears short skirts, I wear t-shirts. She's cheer captain and I'm on the bleachers. Oh, hey guys. Didn't see you there. I wanted to come on here and make a video today about something, but the topic today is how movies just aren't rewatchable. So I'm not saying that broadly about every movie is not rewatchable. I'm just talking about films in general don't have the same rewatchability as they used to. Back in the day, we had films like Jurassic Park and, like King Kong, like Harry Potter. We had all these movies that you could rinse, repeat, watch them over and over again. It didn't matter what time of the year it was, those movies were there ready to go. And as my hair sticks out the side of the hat, I'm just thinking about how movies in the modern era don't have the same level of rewatchability. Now you might say, Jamie, that's just completely wrong. Like, I watched the Marvel movies back. I watched, that movie back. I'm not talking about select films. I'm talking about movies overall. Now, in the modern era, we have movies like, let's just have a look around here. Like The Wolf of Wall Street is rewatchable. But when I look at, like, the drama section in particular, or even, like, let's just go to a general thing. Let's look at Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer is one of those films that it's long, it's good, but rewatchability, as that light goes off for some reason. Can I make the light come back on? Probably not. But we will try. The light's dead. But yeah, when I look at Oppenheimer, this is not a movie that I would rewatch. It's not a movie that I would go back and say, yep, gotta watch that again, gotta rewatch it, one of the best movies of all time, gotta rewatch it again and again. This doesn't have the same rewatchability as, say, like an Austin Powers, or say, like a Titanic, or, Titanic's very long, but it's rewatchable. It's rinse, repeat. Now, some people might say, oh, I'm fascinated by Oppenheimer, I can rewatch it again. That's a preference. When it comes to the modern audiences, I think most people agree that it's a chore to sit through movies like this. Even The Irishman by Martin Scorsese, which is a relatively good film, is hard to sit through because it's like 4 hours. And it's not just the longer movies that have this issue as well. Back in the day, we had movies like Schindler's List that were long, and you would watch it occasionally, but it was another rinse repeat. You would want to watch it during one of those rainy days sort of things. This day and age, we have this issue of films for the sake of films. And a lot of it just isn't rewatchable. Like, up to about Fast and Furious 5, I will give Fast and Furious credit. Up to Fast 5, the first 5 movies are kind of rewatchable. And I would say, yeah, you know what? They're fun. They're really fun to watch. You can rinse, repeat. You can watch Fast and Furious again and again, those first 5 movies. But then you start getting into this silly territory of, like, it kind of insults your intelligence when they're jumping out of space and doing all that silly stuff. Like, a lot of people say, oh, I can watch Fast 7, but that in between, like, where's Fast 6, where's Fast 8, where's Fast 9? Can you rewatch all those as well? Some people will be like, that's my favourite franchise of all time, I can rewatch it non-stop. As again, preference. But in terms of the modern audience, films just aren't rewatchable as they once was. Another example of that is television. Television just doesn't have the same rewatchability as it once did. A lot of people will have watched, WandaVision or something. Where is WandaVision here? It's somewhere in amongst this. A lot of people will have watched WandaVision. Now, people will say this is a good TV show, it's a bad TV show, it's subjective to the person. I actually quite liked WandaVision. I'm not rewatching it as often as I should. I mean, I might watch it once when I'm watching the MCU through again, but it's not something I'm going out saying, I've got to watch it again. I need to watch, like, one episode of that will be fine. Compare that to what's on the top shelf over there while I put this back. Look what's over there on the top shelf. And look what I've put along the top shelf. All of these shows along the top shelf, they're DVDs. But, even South Park have this modern issue where South Park seasons kind of become a chore to watch because you have to watch one after the other and the episodes are kind of no longer standalone. Whereas you go back to, like, Scuzzlebutt, or, you go back to Cartman's Mum is a, you go back to these early episodes and, it just doesn't have the same rewatchability. These ones are iconic. They are very iconic, and you can rewatch these over and over again. You can go back to, like, the initial episodes, like Chicken, you can go back to those episodes and subjectively watch them. And even then, like Mr. Hanky, I've even got them on Blu-ray. I need to put the Blu-rays up there with the DVDs, but I've got the Blu-rays. These look great, but it's not the same version I watched. And, you know, there's alterations to some of this as well. I like this version. I like the DVD versions, but I keep these because it looks beautiful. It does look beautiful on Blu-ray because they've made it for 16:9. They redid the animation. But the old school TV shows have the same issue where modern TV, you really have to be like in a mood to go and watch a show like that. Now, there are modern shows that have like rewatchability. I know people like The Office. I have to watch The Office. I know I haven't watched The Office through. Don't get on me. But there's stuff like that where I know Dawson's Creek has really picked up in rewatchability right now because, you know, James Van Der Beek has left us. So I know a lot of people are going back rewatching Dawson's Creek. I am a fan of, you know, The Simpsons as well. Simpsons is another TV series where I think season 6 is Who Shot Mr. Burns. You know, we can talk about old school TV shows like The Simpsons and say like, yeah, back in the early days of The Simpsons, you could rinse repeat those. You would all speculate about who shot Mr. Burns part 1, and then the next one is in the next season. But, you know, The Simpsons is very iconic of being rinse repeat. If you weren't watching the full season, you could just pick up something and watch it. You didn't have to know, oh, here's the lore of The Simpsons, here's what you need to know, here's all the 10 episode backstory that you need to know before watching this. And even with 24 really had a couple of arcs in the 24 episode seasons. One of my favorite TV shows for a reason. The way 24 used to do TV is it wouldn't be one overarching narrative. Now, sometimes it would be. Sometimes it would be like, oh, Jack Bauer has to stop so-and-so. They have to do this or that. But for the most part, 24 was very much, okay, one arc, solve first problem. Let's move on to the next problem. Solve next problem. Move on to the next. That's how it really was. And it was Jack Bauer over an arc of the series. But if you jumped in at any point, you can kind of pick up and figure out what was happening because they would do the flashbacks. Now, modern film has this issue of rewatchability. Like, here's an example. Men in Black. I think a lot of people have rewatched this many times throughout the years. How many people have rewatched Men in Black International? I mean, some people say, oh, one of my favorite movies of all time. I've rewatched the whole series. I watch them all through. But if you had to watch one movie and you were going to pick up a film, most people are just going to pick Men in Black. They're not going to say, oh, I need to watch Men in Black International because it's so rewatchable. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, if I watch through the whole series, I might watch Men in Black International. But it doesn't have that same iconic appeal of rewatchability. Another example is, where is it here? It's my sci-fi section. So where did I put my sci-fi section? Right in front of me. I'm going blind, guys. Yeah, so if I grab these two. The Matrix. Instantly iconic, very recognizable, very much rewatched, rinse repeat. How many people are rewatching this? I mean, it's got the same actors in it. It's got, you know, are you rewatching it for that reason? Are you rewatching it because, oh, it's a throwback to the old way that we used to do them? Or are you kind of along the lines of, you know, Trinity and, you know, Morpheus and Neo? I kind of just want to watch a new version, or I want to watch an old version. I want to watch the original. The original is the way to go. Most people would say, I just want to watch through the series. I will watch that one if I get through these three. And even sometimes, most people are just happy to say, you know what? The Matrix ended after Reloaded and Revolutions. Most people are just like, the original three. I don't really need the fourth one. The fourth one is a nice bonus if you're a big fan. But the fact that they didn't get Agent Smith back, Hugo Weaving, and I mean, he's an Aussie, so I'm going to give him credit. He might even be, was he born in New Zealand? I don't know, because a lot of the actors that we still in Australia are born in New Zealand. But Hugo Weaving's one of ours. He's one of our stars. Like Mel Gibson, we stole him from New Zealand. But you know what I'm saying? There's so many movies here that just don't have that same iconic appeal. Now, it does happen in the modern era. A lot of people will say, you know, you're wrong, Jamie, because The Hunger Games is instantly rewatchable. That is an anomaly of a modern era classic. And a lot of people can rewatch it. It feels a lot like Battle Royale, you know? But I think a lot of people would say, you know, Indiana Jones, the new Indiana Jones movie. Dial of Destiny, or is it Dial of Destiny? Yeah, Dial of Destiny. A lot of people aren't rewatching Dial of Destiny. I don't know how many people have said, you know what, I've got to rewatch Dial of Destiny. It's just one of the best movies I've ever seen. I can rewatch that year after year. I'm going to love that movie. It just doesn't have the same iconic appeal as, like, you know, Raiders. And I know people were like, well, you're talking series here, Jamie. You're talking series and you're talking like, oh, I'm not going to watch that if I get to the fourth movie. I'm not going to watch that. Now, Tarantino has movies that you can rewatch, obviously. But if I look in amongst this collection, I'm just going to have a look here and have a browse, and I'll tell you something about this, because let's go A Few Good Men, a movie that some people like, some people don't like, but it's very rewatchable. People do rewatch A Few Good Men. If you compare that against something like Civil War, let's compare it against Civil War. Civil War might be rewatchable to some people, but it's not one of those movies that you're just like, oh, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. I can watch it 3 times in a row. I can just watch it again and again. It doesn't have the same appeal. Why is that? And look, it's got good actors in it. It's got Kirsten Dunst. You know, it's got a few good like storylines going. So people will say, oh, I can rewatch it. But it's one of those movies you watch once every 2, maybe 3 years. This is something that most people try to aim to watch once or twice a year. And I know my seal. I know it's sealed. Stop! Don't get on my back. But you know what I'm saying. There's a lot of this stuff happening. If you compare Forrest Gump, you know, Forrest Gump, one of the most iconic, legendary movies of all time, and let's go with a modern classic, just because let's get a modern art masterpiece, as what's it called, Full Metal Jacket would say. Let's grab something that's modern. Let's compare Forrest Gump against, I mean, No Country for Old Men is kind of a modern masterpiece, I would say. I would say it's a modern masterpiece, so I would say that's kind of got that rewatchability. The Wicker Man, definitely. That's not really modern, though. Let's watch, since it's kind of standalone from the original because it doesn't have Bill Paxton, Twisters. And you might say, oh, it's a sequel. It's not the same rewatchability. Now, let's be fair. Let's be fair. We will be fair with this. Fairness. We will be fair. See, all my movies are like old stuff. I'm old. Let's Babylon. Okay. This is a movie, big budget, very big budget. One of those Hollywood kind of backing things. Babylon. Which one are you rewatching? I'm just saying the rewatchability of movies is not the same as it once was. I'm not saying that your preferences are wrong and that you don't love it and you're going to rewatch that one thing. You watch all the Fast and Furious when you watch them because, yeah, you love the Fast and Furious. It's your favorite series of all time. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that for the modern audience, rewatchability in movies just isn't there because they're churning these movies out so fast with such slop in a lot of the scripts that it's just like, oh, another movie, watch it. And that's another thing, you don't have that interaction of holding a cover anymore. It's a lot of it streamed, and even when they're in the cinemas for like, what, 28 days or even? 20, that's another thing. The 28 series, 28 days later, 28 weeks later, I still haven't watched number 3, and I know there's a number 4 coming out. I still haven't watched them. 28 years later, I haven't watched it. And I know some of you are like, oh, but isn't that one of your favourite series? Don't you love that? Don't you want to go and watch it? I'm sure Ray Fiennes is great in it. I'm sure he is. I do need to watch it. But for me, I know they're trying to make it a franchise now. They're doing a second movie of that now. And it's kind of like, meh. You know, I've got my original 2. And they're rewatchable. Instantly rewatchable. Even number 2 with David, I forget his name. You know who I'm talking about. But, you know, I love that movie. I think it's iconic, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's a bit silly, but the opening scene to 28 weeks later is freaking awesome. Like, he's running away, and he's going to make that split-second decision whether he goes back and tries to save his wife and likely dies trying to do it, or whether he runs down to the dock and abandons everything and tries to survive. It's a hard decision, and a lot of people are like, oh, you can never do that. What a thing to do. But in saying that, that's one of the things of like split-second decision. What would you do? Like, you know, a lot of people don't put themselves in that, and that's why it's such a great opening sequence. It's like, what would you do in that situation? You're getting chased by zombies. You can go back and try to save your wife or save everyone. But if you play a hero, and this is another thing that Zombieland's another great one. Another thing that Zombieland tries to like hone in on it is like, don't be a hero. And that's kind of like a thing with zombie genres. Even M. Night Shyamalan, I've talked a lot about old, but M. Night Shyamalan's catalogue back in the day was iconic as well. You know, The Sixth Sense, Signs even, I like Signs. These are rewatchable. Even The Village is rewatchable, even some of his other work is rewatchable. But why is it with M. Night Shyamalan? And you might say, oh, it's just silly movies. I don't really like his modern stuff. Some directors do fall off, But rewatchability, it seems like rewatchability of movies just died in the 2000s. Like when the DVD and Blu-ray shops went away, like the rental market, it seems like rewatchability took a hit as well. Here's another one. Let's just compare the modern Scream, like the remake of the modern Scream with Neve Campbell, and let's compare it against, let's be fair, let's compare it against Scream 3. I'm not going to compare it against Scream 1 because a lot of you will say Scream 1 is iconic and even Scream 2 is kind of iconic. Scream 3 was kind of the turning point where a lot of people are like, Scream 3, not really the best. Compare that against this Scream. Which one are you rewatching the most? I think a lot of people will say, oh, I'm just going to rewatch Scream 3 then, because it's more legendary, it's got more iconic moments. This one is, yeah, it's a modern one. It's got Neve Campbell in there. But, and that but is where a lot of people pick up from. It's like, oh, but it's not something that I'm nostalgic for. And that's where nostalgia plays into this. So with nostalgia, you kind of get into this mindset of the older stuff is better. And who knows, maybe in 20 years, 30 years, maybe people will be nostalgic for a lot of this. For a lot of stuff that is coming out right now. But for right now, it seems like movies just don't have the same appeal as they once did in terms of nostalgia, in terms of the way they're making them. When a movie like Titanic came out, it was the biggest thing in the world. And it was clearly the biggest thing in the world because it was selling more tickets. I think this movie sold more tickets than any movie in history outside of Gone with the Wind. I think Gone with the Wind sold more tickets than Titanic. But Titanic sold more tickets, that even holds the record, I think. I think it's the most in the modern era of the film that's sold the most tickets. Now, you might say the box office has been surpassed by Avatar 10 and whatever it is. I don't know what Avatar they're up to now. Avatar 3. But, you know, that being said, this movie still sold more tickets. If they was charging the same price they're charging for modern cinemas, I'm sure this would be the highest grossing movie of all time by a mile. But when this was out, you knew it was the biggest movie in the world. And they tried to do that recently with, you know, Tom Cruise and the Mission Impossible series. I haven't seen the second of this, sorry. I know I still have to get it, and I still haven't seen the second part of Dead Reckoning. But they tried to do that marketing campaign of the biggest movie out ever, and it's going to be the final Mission Impossible, even though they're talking about a number 9 movie of it, which kind of ruins it. But, you know, when this was coming out, it was like, oh, well, you know, part 1 and part 2, this is where we're going to wrap Mission Impossible, nice and neat. And this is where they were trying to do that sort of appeal, like biggest movie of the year. And then you had Oppenheimer right behind it. You had Barbie right behind it. Now, Barbie did cross in and people say, oh, that's a legendary movie, I can rewatch Barbie. That's an anomaly and a preference. But I'm talking about movies overall just aren't rewatchable. And I think I've ranted on for enough time about this now. I'm sure you guys are getting a headache listening to me. Let me know what you think. Jump down in the comments, let me know, hype the channel, follow, like, subscribe, I don't know, what else do you do, send a Vine, I don't know, what else do people do, send an email, MSN message me, I don't even have MSN Messenger anymore, yeah, follow me on Instagram, Jamie Toomey Presents. I've got all my old posts back up, so go and enjoy them while they last. I don't know when I'm going to have a thing and just take them all back down again, but go and enjoy them, I don't know, have fun. And while I'm at it, I'll put some end screens here and you can watch both of them. Did you know end screens are pretty cool? These are some of my older videos, and you can actually watch some of my older videos. And I'm going to end it here because I've ranted on for 18 minutes. Peace, watch the older videos, and I'll catch you in the next one.